Gordie Howe International Bridge is finally preparing to open later this month, July 27th. But that's no longer the biggest story. The real debate is whether Canada had to rewrite the deal to satisfy U.S. President Donald Trump. And if so, what did Canadians actually give up?
Well, I think there's a couple of things about the deal. First, I'm happy the bridge is going to be open. Yeah, we need it. We need it because we're still expanding trade. Second thing is the word net does a lot of work in this. We are sharing after Canada is paid back. So we get the revenues, then the servicing of the costs of the bridge, and paying the debt of the bridge, and then what's left over, there's a split of that for 15 years. And the U.S. money is invested back in economic development in the region, the U.S. side of the region, obviously, which is going to help drive more traffic. The initial years of this bridge, traffic volumes are going to build up, so there's not going to be a lot of net to split. So look, it's a good deal for Canada, and what's really good is getting the bridge done on time, on budget, and to build out together.
Now, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre blasted Carney and the deal.
Imagine you spent $1 million building a rental property, and then your neighbor said he wanted to collect half the rent. You paid 100% of the cost and you get only 50% of the revenue? What a terrible deal. Well, that's exactly the deal that Mark Carney just brought home on the Gordie Howe International Bridge. Canada paid for the entire $6.4 billion price tag. We even funded the infrastructure on the American side of the river, all with the understanding that we would collect 100% of the tolls until we recouped our money. Carney just agreed to give half the tolls to a Michigan economic development body that did not pay a dime to build the thing. This is our grandmaster negotiator? Look, I don't think we should fight with our American friends just for the sake of it. But here's what's clear. Carney's approach of elbows up when he thinks the president is not looking and sucking up to his face is not working. It has only given us double the tariffs on more goods and given us the only recession in the G7. Let's build our positive leverage on resources and defense and use that leverage to incentivize our American partners to remove tariffs. And let's sign a deal that makes us both better off. Enough illusions, enough theater. It's time for results.
Well, Eddie, let's have a look at things, because when this story broke on Friday, late Friday afternoon, there were very few details released with it as to what was finally negotiated. That is, until our friend in the Oval Office got his hands on Truth Social. Essentially what happened, the president goes on Truth Social and talks about, winning a new deal, a much better deal for America, going to take half of the tolls, and on it goes. Now, unfortunately for the Carney government and the communications people, they did not get out in front of this before Trump had a chance to post this to social media. And anyhow, my blood was boiling, as was yours, over the fact that they were going to take 50% of the tolls. Well, we're going to get into that in a moment, because as the smoke cleared over the last 3 or 4 days, we're finally getting some hard, fast details from the federal government as to how that's all going to work out. And the more I listened, the more I watched, the more I felt like, all right, I get where they're going with this. I'm not happy about it, but I get it, and I think I can at least live with it. And I don't know, because I haven't talked to you since I've come to that conclusion, so I don't know if you're mellowing a bit on it or not. But let's look at it first of all. Let's look at the supply chain lifeline. The bridge will provide direct freeway connectivity, bypassing the local city streets and traffic lights that choke the nearby privately owned Ambassador Bridge. And we'll come back to the Ambassador Bridge here in a moment. As far as the economic impact, it directly services the heavily integrated U.S.-Canada automotive industry, and that is serving a trade corridor that accounts for tens of billions of dollars annually. And as far as the resolution of political delays, well, it was scheduled to open last month, and that was briefly postponed due to cross-border political friction because back earlier this year, Trump, if you recall, Trump said he would not allow the bridge to open, and that was shortly after the owner, the family that owns the Ambassador Bridge, which a lot of people don't realize that bridge is privately owned, made $1 million contribution to one of Trump's campaign funds. And shortly after that, Trump starts going on about the deal not being fair. A deal which was reached back in 2014, 2012, 2014 by then Prime Minister Harper and U.S. officials. And it really didn't involve the federal government, the U.S. federal government. It involved the Michigan state government. Anyway, the resolution of those political delays briefly postponed due to the cross-border political friction, making the midsummer breakthrough a vital win for international trade stability. How's that going to impact the long-term financial viability and traffic monopoly of the privately owned Ambassador Bridge? Well, I have a question to answer that question, and that is, who cares? What specific operational framework was agreed upon by U.S. and Canadian officials to permanently resolve the political disputes that threaten the bridge opening? We'll get into that in a moment. And are the commercial toll structures optimized to instantly divert the targeted 25% of truck border crossings over to the new infrastructure? Well, I would suggest even if the tolls are a little bit higher, maybe than what they are on the Ambassador Bridge at the moment, you're going to see trucking firms going that route, the new route anyway, because they don't have to go through cities on either side, Windsor or Detroit, through city streets and running into the backlogs and the delays. Most of them will have the fleet tags on their windshields, and they'll just sail right on through the automatic ticketing booths and either onto the 401 or the interstate on the other side. That's going to be huge for truckers because a lot of trucking companies on the Canadian side especially are taking other bridges, going a long way around, taking other bridges in Ontario across to the U.S. to avoid the delays we're running into on the Ambassador Bridge. So anyway, here's the thing. The tolls, 50% of any profits. That's how it's going to split out. Originally, Canada would take all of the tolls in the first number of years until the $6.4 billion investment we made on the bridge was paid off. And then Michigan...
It was an estimate of 50 years.
Yes, it was. And Michigan and Canada, after that point, would split the money from the tolls. And then in comes the bull in the china shop in the Oval Office and just throws a wrench into things. However, as you heard Prime Minister Carney say in that clip we played at the beginning, it's 50% of the profit. Well, 50% of the profit, that's after you pay for whatever repayment structure you have set up against the money that Canada is owed, operating costs on the bridge, and other incidentals as well. And with traffic volumes starting to build, and certainly not at their peak in the first year, there's not going to be a whole lot left over in the initial years of operation of that bridge for profit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you may have noticed there was a bit of a smile on Carney's face when he was talking about that aspect of it. It's going to be 50%, let's say 50% of nothing. But there will be very little profit margin on those tolls in the first 10 years for sure, and probably stretching out 15 and a little bit beyond. And the money that the U.S. gets is supposed to go into a regional development fund on the Michigan side, but which will be controlled apparently by the Bridge Corporation, the new Bridge Corporation, the Gordie Howe Bridge Corporation. Other than that, we don't know what kind of guidelines are in place, what sort of economic development or regional economic development they're talking about, and how much money are they actually going to have at the end of 15 years. Now,
Yeah.
a question that comes from that in my mind when I heard this was, okay, so what has the Marone family, which owns the Ambassador Bridge, what have they been contributing to regional development on either side of the border with their profit-taking bridge?
They've been funding campaigns? Yeah.
I would suggest, yeah. There we go. That. Big
Yeah.
goose egg.
Right.
So I think when you start breaking it down now that we have some information, a little more information to come and go on, Trump can brag all he wants on Truth Social to his MAGA base, but the fact of the matter is, yes, he got a concession, but what did he really get from it? It's going to take us a little longer to pay off the bridge. That's fine. But really, I can live with it. I just don't like the precedent we keep setting of bowing down to this guy. And of course, you heard who he had negotiating this deal with Dominique LeBlanc and I forget who was with him. It was none other than Hoekstra and Lutnick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, sending his mob heavyweights in.
Right.
And I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall listening to the conversation back and forth. Well, it would have been probably pretty much one-sided conversation from their side of the table.
Right.
So I am not happy that once another concession has been made, Carney kind of stood up to it to a point over a period of time. Did he stand up long enough? I don't know. My thought on it was, we've gone this long without the bridge open. Let it go another couple of months. It's not going to make any difference to anything related to Kuzma because that's already been decided.
Right.
So that's kind of out of the way to a degree. And let the truckers keep using other bridges because the traffic on the Ambassador Bridge is starting to drop off. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we could have maybe held out a little bit longer. But also I know that you've got the automotive side of things, and the automotive industry on both sides of the border were really, really very concerned about it. So I've mellowed a bit from this time on Friday and Saturday. I can understand it. I can live with it. But I'm not totally happy. Over to you.
Yeah. Okay, Gary, let me get off my chest, okay?
Go.
To me, this is another freaking Carney concession. I hate saying it, but I am not happy with when I heard about it. I am just as not happy about it today. If you remember, Gary, months ago, during year one of our program, we had a whole piece on Canada's digital services tax, and us putting a concession into to withdraw that. It was something that we were speculating was done as a result of trying to get the Kuzma negotiations moved forward and to work to our benefit. And of course, That was all for naught with Trump's recent decision that he just let July 1st come and he let July 1st go. So I think this whole bridge thing is just another concession. And well, I find myself agreeing with Pierre Poilievre. Oh my goodness, that hasn't happened in a long time. I don't agree with how he presented this thing in Kitty style messaging, but I think at the beginning of his little clip there, he was absolutely right. His example about buying a house and the rent piece there, having to pay back rent. He's absolutely correct. Now, I understand what you're saying about looking at 15 years here. Well, we don't exactly know how much money that's going to look at. We're speculating there's going to be minimal profit in terms of after net profit over the course of the next 10 years because of everything we need to do to maintain, sustain, ramp up with traffic, collect the revenues, and so on and so forth. I would suspect there's a little bit more in that agreement that's not effectively being communicated by the Carney government. Look, I'm looking at this from a crime boss perspective. A crime boss doesn't want his money 10 years from now. He wants some money now. And if you look at the president's method of operating, he wants to make sure that he's lining somebody's pockets now, not 10 years from now. So I think over the next year or two, Gary, we're slowly going to start to see what that payment model and what that net profit model is going to look like after paying for the loans associated with the bridge, the construction costs, and everything else that goes into that. I don't have an easy feeling. I don't think this was a win for us as Canadians. Gary, we paid for absolutely everything. Okay. And, the president coming back and saying that we continue robbing them is just Trump bullshit. We used Canadian material. We used American material. We used a Canadian workforce. We used an American workforce. Jesus, we even built their customs office on their side of their border. We paid for absolutely everything. And that's the message that I agree with from Pierre Poilievre's perspective. We paid for absolutely everything, and now we're going to have to give up money. This was an agreement drawn up in 2014 that Canada would use all revenue streams to pay off the cost of building this fantastically and economically important bridge between Canada and the United States, and then split profits. But no, we have to do it right away because A, El Presidente is 80 years old. B, he's only got X amount of years left, so he's got to stuff pockets. That's just the way, in my mind, you look at the crime boss mentality. So I don't know what the big picture is for Mr. Carney. Is he looking at conceding something now in order to get something that's a bigger picture that he'll consider a big win with the United States of America? I would only hope so, Gary, to tell you the truth. I'm really hoping that the reason he did this is going to be of benefit to Canadians and taxpayers like you and I, that, yeah, let's give them a little buck because we're going to be getting 10 times the amount of buck that we're conceding to the United States at this particular point in time. So, Gary, I'm not happy with this in general. I hear what you're saying. I'm not convinced that a 10 or 15-year plan where we're going to be splitting this in the immediate and we're not going, and there's going to be not too much profit to share between us and the United States. I don't see that yet. I'm not sure if I'm doing my math correctly or if I'm not getting enough information to this particular point. I don't think we have all the information. I just think we got screwed on this one, and I'm hopeful that Prime Minister Carney is outmaneuvering President Trump, which is not too difficult to do these days, but it's the initial damage that we always have to contend with. And in terms of Mr. Poilievre's message, I think his delivery in the first 10 segments of his clip, he was bang on with his message. I agree with him. However, in terms of the rhetoric and the approach he took in the latter part of his clip, is just a typical Pierre Poilievre thing. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10 in his message delivery. But in general, Gary, I am not happy with this deal that Mr. Carney has put on the table, and trying to promote it as a good thing for Canada. I just don't see it right now.
So I take it from what you're saying, Eddie, you don't believe the deal will still protect Canadian taxpayers over the long term.
The way it seems to be mapped out now, I am not seeing it. At least for the term while Trump is still in charge, I'm not seeing it. And the politics will decide thereafter. The future elections will decide thereafter what this deal is going to look like. Because look, if we take the U.S. approach right now, there's no such thing as a contract, and there's no such thing as a deal. Maybe we'll pull a Trump on them and see how they wiggle with that with the next administration. But yeah, to answer your question, Gary, I don't think right now in the immediate we came out by any means. We did not come out as a winner on this.
Well, you brought up something that I was going to mention, and that is with this deal. This deal has lasted a week so far. Not even a week yet. It'll be a week Friday.
Yeah.
But who's to say this time next month, or maybe October, as we get closer to the midterm elections, who's to say that this deal is out the window? Because we all know that nothing on paper or verbally agreed upon means anything to this administration, and specifically the President of the United States. He's a deal breaker.
Correct.
So this could change, and we could be back at the table again, but at least when that happens, we have traffic flowing across the bridge still, unless he shuts down his side. And that's the other thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize. When we built the bridge and the infrastructure, we even built the facilities for the U.S. side as far as the border crossing was concerned. Now, we didn't pay for the equipment that I'm aware of going into the border facility, but we provided the building. So, it was a good deal all the way around for them.
Yeah.
Before the person in the Oval Office got involved in it. So I don't know. We're both in agreement on the fact that this time next week we could be talking about this again because the deal has changed, or he's called the deal off and is trying to block traffic on. And you watch, if he tries to block traffic once it starts flowing across that bridge, we just sit back and put our feet up and watch the uproar.
Yeah.
Because
you're right there. He can have a bowel movement and change things next week and the week after that. We just don't know. And pretty much every diplomat and major business leader has voiced their concern in how do you negotiate with a country where the president is completely unpredictable in terms of common logic and common approaches to just day-to-day business. So, you know what? If there's anything that kind of makes me feel safe, Gary, is exactly what you're saying right now. He might change his mind next week, or who the hell knows what's going to happen in the United States in the next few months. And come October and November, everything can get thrown up into the air and everything gets renegotiated and relations get reestablished. Who the hell knows? But as is right now, the way things stand, Gary, I can't share your optimism yet. I'm too miffed from actually hearing that. And you're right, there was a smirk in Carney's approach when he actually spoke. Ace up the sleeve. I don't know. Are they getting nothing in 15 years? Really? Maybe. I don't know. Is he expecting things to crumble come November and he's going to go to different routes? I don't know, but you know what? Only time will tell. But Yeah, I'm not feeling too good right now, Gary. You're usually pretty good and make me see the other side of the road, but not segment one, bud. Not today.
Okay, so our takeaway on this one, Eddie, is this. The issue isn't simply getting the bridge open. It's understanding the price of getting there. And how much of a price have we paid?